Hello, my dear viewer. It's good to have best friends who can come to the rescue in a difficult moment. In this story, the hero's best friend tells him that he saw his wife leaving the motel. The husband conducts an investigation, and what he discovers is shocking. Let's listen to the story and find out what happened next. And you, my dear friend, as usual, put your most powerful like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go. After many years of marriage, it can be difficult to maintain friendly relations, since most of the time has to be devoted to family. But I still managed to find a balance. During a recent camping trip with friends, I learned the shocking truth about my wife, which prompted me to start my own investigation. There are men who are completely unaware of this. I was one of them once. Men who don't notice this should have a special meeting place where we can get together, have a couple of glasses, and confess our ignorance. The only problem is that we probably won't even realize that this meeting is meant for us. Mary and I got married when we were 20 years old. We spent so much time together that we raised 3 children and even had some fun between pregnancies. I tried to follow the advice from the books, presenting myself as a faithful husband. When Allison went to college, I wondered how Mary would spend her time when her children were grown up. It turned out that she decided to volunteer at the hospital. She devoted 3 days a week to helping, alternating shifts at the gift shop and the children's playroom, as well as other places. Despite the fact that our children were no longer at home, our group of friends remained united and still gathered monthly for barbecues and house parties. I especially became friends with 3 men from our group. Because of our shared passion for fishing, we often planned weekend trips together, usually 4 to 5 times a year. I used to think that our marriage was the same as everyone else's, a typical lifestyle of the couples around us. Our children grew up and moved away. Our wives were busy with different things. Some were working, some were not. And we, the husbands, were focused on our careers, counting down the days to retirement. On the fishing trip, we chatted about all this, sometimes diving into deeper discussions about relationships and intimacy. In May, the 4 of us went fishing. We sat in the boat and looked at the water while my fishing line disappeared under the surface. Our conversation began with Jack talking about his recent trip to Stanford to visit his son. He told how his wife found an empty contraceptive wrapper in her son's room, which upset him very much. In response, Paul told his story about returning home after visiting their daughter at college. His wife mentioned that Kelly confessed to her in an intimate relationship with her boyfriend. We laughed when he talked about a young guy, always in worn, dirty clothes, desperate for a shave and constantly slouching. Mike was silent for a moment. Sensing his thoughtfulness, I asked, "Mike, what are you thinking about? You seem to be deep in thought." He hesitated before answering. "I don't dare to say anything. If I'm wrong, I can start something that might offend someone. And if I'm right, it could hurt all of us." "Did you witness something, or is it speculation?" I asked. After a short pause, without being distracted by fishing, he finally confessed. "I saw your wife parking the car behind the Marriott." "Whose wife and when?" I asked. "Yours, 3 weeks ago, and the day before yesterday," he said. Jack interjected. "Are you implying that Nick's wife is unfaithful?" "I can't confirm her behavior. I can only say that I've seen her at the Marriott twice in the last month." Mike explained. "I deliver groceries to the Marriott 3 times a week, just like any other hotel in the area." Paul nodded, realizing his mistake. Thinking about this situation, I couldn't help but wonder, why would Mary go to the Marriott twice in a month? Is she unfaithful to me? I stayed fishing with the group, not wanting to leave because that would mean admitting my suspicions of Mary's infidelity. Back in town, I picked up Jack's car and drove home, but found that Mary was gone. I sat down at my computer, thinking about how to find out the truth about her whereabouts. I spent the next few hours searching for clues online and eventually ordered items that could help me with my investigation and sent them to my office. When Mary returned, I started flirting with her, but she waved me off, saying she had a headache. It was expected. For the next week, Mary and I lived as usual, but I couldn't get rid of my suspicions. I watched her closely, even called her at random moments, but everything was fine. At night, after receiving the package, I settled in the garage, secretly installing a GPS tracker on her car to monitor her movements. The next day, I received another package and decided to install it so that I could secretly eavesdrop on conversations in Mary's car. The next morning, Mary mentioned during breakfast that she had no duties at the hospital and was going shopping. From my office, I watched her carefully as she made her way to the mall and then to the market. She returned home with her shopping at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At 1:30, she went outside again, drove south for 10 minutes, then east for another 10, until she finally reached the Marriott. I decided to leave my office and follow her to the Marriott. 5 minutes later, I found her car and parked nearby, unnoticed, but with a good view of her car. At the appointed time, at 4:20, she left the hotel and went straight to her car. As she was leaving, she noticed Alex White coming out of the same exit. They exchanged nods as she drove past him. Alex White's presence surprised her, because he was married to one of the most attractive women in their social circle. When he left, she stayed in the parking lot until the phone rang. The voice on the other end sounded distant. "Nick? Mary? Why not just say hello?" she asked, feeling confused. "Hello? What would you like for dinner tonight? How about trying something adventurous? Maybe a hot sauce dish?" "Oops, we're out of sauce. Do you have any other ideas? Maybe something fresh and nutritious like a salad or grilled salmon?" I tried to turn the conversation to the usual topics, distracting attention from my true feelings. "What time will you be home?" "About 5. "Sounds good. See you later." After I hung up the phone, a sudden idea struck me, and I decided to park and enter the Marriott. I noticed the daughter of one of my clients at the front desk and made small talk for a few minutes before I plucked up the courage and asked, "I heard that my friend can stay here. Could you check it out?" Without hesitation, she asked for his name. Alex White," I replied. Her fingers quickly tapped on the keyboard, and after a few moments she answered, "He checked into his room as usual." "As usual?" "Every Thursday morning, he invariably checks into a room and stays until the next morning, always choosing his room. Sometimes he stays on other days, but on Thursdays he has a constant habit. The computer was able to track this pattern back in January." When asked if it would be a problem to print out his notes, she asked if no one would know about it. To this question, I assured him that this would not happen. "Do you need a hard copy?" she asked. "Yes, please," I replied. She handed me a Marriott folder. Although I wasn't sure if I would need it right now, I felt it would come in handy. I put it in my briefcase and went home. When I arrived, Mary made a salmon salad so we could enjoy it together, as well as tea. She also told me about her shopping day, mentioning that she stayed at the mall until 3 o'clock and stopped at the market on the way back. As she talked, I couldn't shake the suspicion that she wasn't telling the truth. Justifying myself, I went to the bathroom. Inside, I saw a wet shower and clothes in a laundry basket, and anger rose in me. How could Mary have had an affair with Alex for months? It was obvious that she wasn't being honest with me. After dinner, she relaxed on the couch with a book, and I went to the computer. Scrolling through our social circle, I came across the email addresses of Alex's wife. Using another mailbox, I sent a message to her personal address, which seemed unfamiliar to her. My message was direct. "If you want to know who is cheating on you, when and where, Alex, please reply to this email. I have evidence that you might be interested in. I'm not looking for any financial gain." I sent the letter at 8:10. I got the answer by 9. "I have almost the whole day off tomorrow, and I will be showing the new house on Oak Street in Claremont. Feel free to come to my place for lunch or come anytime when the house is open to chat." After that, I deleted both her email and mine before going to bed. Mary joined me when I was already asleep, and in the morning, she had already woken up and was preparing for her day at the hospital, while I, as usual, was preparing for work. At noon, I called Mary to ask if I could take care of dinner that evening. "Are you planning to cook?" "What is it exactly?" she asked. "Is there any particular dish that you would like me to cook?" I asked. "Jambalaya!" she exclaimed. "It is jambalaya," I assured her. After checking Mary's GPS location at the hospital, I left my workplace. On the way, I noticed Alex and two other men who came into the diner as I drove past his office. I quickly found a parking spot. Quietly, I installed another GPS tracker on Alex's car and then went to the sandwich shop to have lunch. I ordered a sandwich for myself and a salad for Alex's wife. At about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I parked next to the open house sign and walked up to it. When Helen saw me, her face turned white. She got up quickly, hung a sign on the street that she would be back at 2 o'clock, and returned to the house. We sat down on the sofa, and tears filled her eyes. She seemed to be on the verge of an emotional breakdown and couldn't speak. I also felt a wave of fear wash over me. Hastily rummaging through my briefcase, I handed her Marriott's papers. When she read them, tears welled up in her eyes. In a soft voice, I said, "I'm sorry." She looked up at me, and her face reflected the suffering and vulnerability. "This disgusting man has been cheating on me for months. He was romantically involved with my wife Mary for at least part of that time. I'm really sorry," she said. She paused, wiping her eyes before firmly stating, "He's going to pay for this. This piece of paper doesn't mean anything. We need hard evidence and we need to be prepared for the consequences." I agreed. "I have a tendency to act without thinking. We need to come up with a well-thought-out plan." An hour later, Helen took down the lunch sign, and we continued to talk until almost 4 o'clock. Unfortunately, no one came to the open house, but before I left, we already had a plan ready. In the late afternoon, while browsing the internet, I came across a conference in Las Vegas specifically designed for professionals in my field, as well as another conference for real estate agents. Excited, I shared the information with Helen, who also wanted to attend both events. As soon as my reservation was confirmed, I told Mary about the conference, emphasizing what opportunities it provides for establishing contacts. I invited her to join me, but although she looked interested, she asked for time to think and said she would give me an answer the next morning. Meanwhile, Helen waited for Alex to return home, informed him about the conference she planned to attend, and asked him to join her. Unfortunately, he had to give up due to a busy schedule. The next day, Mary called me at work to share her doubts about going to Vegas for 3 days and 1 night, as well as about the long road. She mentioned the possibility of visiting her sister. Despite my attempts to hide my disappointment, we did not delve into the topic of the trip. The next day at work, I contacted Henry Hawkins, my business lawyer, to make sure there was no conflict of interest with Mary, both personal and professional. After confirming the situation, we discussed the possible consequences of the divorce, and I carefully documented our conversation in a digital file. I discussed with him the division of the family property and expressed my concerns about the fair treatment of him. He outlined a strategy to protect me and my assets and organized the collection of evidence of their affair. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone rang, and it was Helen calling from a payphone. I had a room booked at the Mirage Hotel, and she was staying at Treasure Island. She listed the things she needed to take with her, and I advised her to take a laptop, a personal phone book, and a cell phone that could be used in Vegas without a high fee. In the evening, when I was finishing packing, Mary came and checked my suitcase. "You forgot your swimming trunks," she remarked. "I'm not planning on swimming," I replied. "But a quick swim can refresh you after all your meetings," she advised. I got the swimming supplies ready, and she didn't say anything else. After packing my things, I packed my suitcase in the car and did my evening chores before going to bed. I playfully suggested Mary have some fun in bed before the trip, but she looked too tired. "Maybe when you come back," she said with a smile. Before dawn, I set off. At 7:30, the phone rang and I answered it. It was Helen asking, "Where are you?" I replied, I'm almost to Pomona." Then she reminded me, "Do you remember that there's a Denny's restaurant where we usually stop to go to the fair?" I confirmed, "Yes, he's about 2 miles ahead." She ordered, "Go there and I'll meet you in 20 minutes. Do you agree?" I agreed. "Of course, I'm hungry." I suggested, "Should I make an order for you?" She refused, saying, "No, I'll wait. You go ahead and start." I drove onto the highway and parked in front of Denny's restaurant. Helen came in jeans, a loose Western-style shirt and boots, which was a surprise compared to my expectations. She greeted me with a smile and sat down, and the waitress quickly brought her the menu and coffee. While we were ordering, I couldn't help but notice how different Helen was from the usually polished professional woman I was used to seeing even at social events. After we ate, Helen complained that she would have to go to Las Vegas alone. I asked her to come with me, and she agreed. She followed me to the nearest parking lot. When we arrived, I asked about the price of parking for 3 days and found it acceptable. We parked next to each other, and I helped her move her things into my car. Since none of us needed to travel alone, we set off together. For the next 3.5 hours, we discussed plans. I drove the car and she took notes. We stopped at Baker to refuel and take a break. Our connection arose due to the fact that we had experienced infidelity in our marriage together, but now a friendship has developed between us. I felt a strong connection with her, despite the fact that we had never really known each other. During our journey, we experienced laughter, sadness, and a strong sense of camaraderie. After dropping her off at a hotel in Las Vegas, I arranged to meet her for dinner. Later, while in my room, I called my lawyer, who, laughing, informed me that it was possible to return. He informed me that my wife had gone to her lover's house and they were captured on video engaging in compromising activities in the backyard pool. Even today's issue of Time magazine is on the table next to them, prompting them to take action. Maybe I should ask his wife to contact you? I wonder if she's already been contacted. If you both hire me, I can save you a significant amount of money. Thank you. May I ask a hypothetical question? Of course. What happens to the case if Helen and I decide to be together during our stay in Vegas? Unless your wife or Alex is monitoring your whereabouts, nothing will change. We will block both numbers. Do you want her to submit the documents first or to him before you return? No, I want to be present when the locks are changed before the documents are brought to her, and I also want to get a restraining order to keep her away from my business and home if possible. When do you need to prepare everything? I'll talk to Helen and let you know. An hour later, I arrived at Caesar's, the restaurant that Helen had chosen. We sat down at the table, talked, and began to enjoy the meal. Using my mobile phone, I contacted our lawyer and advised him to refrain from any action until our return. In the meantime, I've instructed my assistant to gather additional evidence while we're gone. It is preferable to have enough evidence than not enough. After the conversation, we paid the bill and walked around the shopping district together, refraining from physical contact, despite my strong desire to do so. The thought that Mary might cheat on me in my absence did not leave me. We reached the taxi rank, and she returned to her hotel. When she was about to get into a taxi, I felt how she wanted to kiss me, and I answered her with this desire, but we restrained ourselves. Half an hour later, when I entered my room, the phone rang. It was Mary. "It's getting late. Where have you been?" she asked. "I had dinner at Caesar's and went for a walk," I replied. "I saw a beautiful outfit that I think you'll like. Should I buy it for you?" "Open clothes?" I asked. "You know I don't often dress provocatively." "I can't believe I'm almost 50. "So it's a rejection?" "Yes, it is. But if you come across a beautiful necklace or other piece of jewelry, I will be grateful." "Okay, I'll take a look tomorrow. In the meantime, I'll turn off the phone and get some rest. Good night, Mary." "I adore you. Sweet dreams." "Good night." She never said she loved me. When I finished my night's business and climbed into bed, about to turn off the phone, suddenly there was a knock on the door. "Hi," I said, opening the door and letting Helen in. then closing it tightly behind her. I was standing in a towel, and she was left in jeans and a Western-style shirt. Alex was at home and didn't even pay attention to my calls because he was lying in bed with your wife. I couldn't stop thinking about it during the taxi ride to the hotel. I went back to the room, asked the receptionist not to disturb me for the night, quickly made the bed and headed straight here. She greeted me with a smile and hugs. I couldn't help but ask, "Are you here to take revenge?" She replied, "Initially, I wanted to be with you to avenge the betrayal that we both went through. But now I don't have that motivation. Alex ruined our marriage. I could be sad for years pretending to be a victim." I was drowning in self-pity when melancholic songs were playing on the radio. But instead of sinking into despair, I decided to change my life and accept it the way I wanted it to be. I longed for you to be next to me in bed, but I didn't want us to have intimacy. I longed for your companionship and love, but I wasn't ready for anything more yet. Putting my arm around her shoulders, I asked her what she liked. "I like being loved and taken care of," she replied. I replied, "I'll give it my all." I went into the bathroom and turned on the shower water. We took turns showering and exchanging kisses before finally heading to bed. "Helen, I want us to lie down, hug and fall asleep with our arms around each other," I said. Helen gently took my face in her hands. A tear rolled down her cheek. We kissed gently before she climbed into bed. I made room next to her, and she settled in comfortably, wrapping her arms around me. I kissed her gently on the lips, and we fell asleep. When I woke up, she surprised me with another kiss, which led to a more intimate moment between us. She took the initiative in her own hands, and I was unable to resist her advances. After a passionate meeting, we both felt tired and decided to get some more sleep. When we finally woke up, we realized it was almost noon. After taking a shower and getting dressed, we headed to Helen's room, where she needed to change into fresh clothes. While she was changing, I called our lawyer, who informed me that Alex and Mary had spent the night together in our marital bed. In addition, the photographer took pictures of various rooms in our house, including the backyard, bedroom, living room, and my computer desk. Grateful for the information, I thanked the lawyer and ended the conversation. Then Helen and I got into my car and drove to Lake Mead, having a conversation filled with a variety of emotions, from anger to sadness. As we continued our journey, the pain did not subside, and by the time we got to Kingman, Arizona, my heart was heavy with sadness. Our conversation showed that Mary and I had lost the love and connection we once shared. We both still cared deeply about our children, but our love for each other had long since faded. Helen also realized that her relationship with Alex had reached a breaking point. We stayed in Kingman for dinner and then headed back to Las Vegas, lost in our own thoughts, and the time flew by unnoticed. We discussed our lives and plans for the future, including hopes for the next few years and what will happen to our children after the divorce. Back at the hotel, I packed my things and put my suitcase in the car, then checked out and moved into Helen's room. When we were lying in bed together, she started crying. Despite the fact that I tried to stand firm, like my hero John Wayne, I also found myself on the verge of tears. Unlike my previous experience with Mary, where our time together in bed was focused on getting quick pleasure. Lying in bed with Helen, I felt pure joy that she was just there for me. These new emotions were unlike anything I had experienced before. The next morning, we shared another intimate moment, after which we decided to take a nap. When we woke up, we ordered food and drinks in the room and prepared to leave, exchanging loving glances and kisses. When we reached the parking lot where Helen's car was parked, she asked the question, "What now?" I also thought about our next steps. "I don't want to share a bed with Alex. I want to be with you. Let's switch places," she said, sitting down and giving me a puzzled look. "You said you wanted me to be with you, not Alex. Alex and Mary have been doing this for a long time, so why can't we? Let's do it." "Really?" she replied. "Yes, let's do it." This way we will no longer feel angry, abandoned, or offended. They will be able to fulfill their desires, and we will win. Did we win? The real victory is waking up with you every morning and living next to you. But what if Alex is just playing games with Mary and doesn't really want to be with her? In this case, they will only get what they deserve. By giving up honesty, they are missing out on two wonderful people, their homes and families. It would be better for all participants if there was more transparency. I need time to think about everything. Let's meet in my office to discuss everything in more detail. Do you have enough time to think about everything? Let me clarify. You're suggesting that we live together. You're suggesting that all four of us get divorced, right? Helen, the four of us are really getting divorced. As soon as the divorce is finalized, I would like to marry you the very next day. Will you marry me? It may seem that it's too early because we just met, but in fact, we have known each other for many years. It's only been a few days since we didn't even think about the possibility of love. At the moment, I am completely dedicated to loving you. My feelings for you are sincere. Helen, please think about it when you go to my office. Drive carefully. I leaned over and kissed her as she got into the car. This kiss promised the love that I was ready to give. She put a towel on the seat and drove away. While she was leaving, I was wondering if she would visit my office, accept my offer, and where I would spend the night. When I pulled up to the parking lot, Helen was already waiting by her car. As soon as I parked, she hurried to open my door and squeezed into the tight space between me and the steering wheel. "I love you," she said impatiently. "I want to wake up with you every morning. I will marry you." She paused for a moment, showering me with kisses, and then asked, "What are we going to do next? We need to talk to our spouses." Let me check the GPS to find out where they are. Both beacons indicated that they were in Helen's house. "Sit down, we'll go to your place," I said. 10 minutes later, we pulled up to the house and parked behind her car in the driveway. Quietly entering the house through the back door, we heard indistinct sounds. After going through the whole house, we found them on the floor in the living room. Mary betrayed me there. Ignoring our presence, they continued their actions. I invited Helen to sit on the sofa and took a seat next to her. Helen avoided looking me in the eye. The scene was filled with a mixture of words and actions that were not always attractive. After a while, they stopped their antics, and that's when Alex noticed us. "Oh no!" he exclaimed. Mary noticed us and froze. Helen broke the silence. "You ruined my carpet." Mary rushed to find her clothes, and Alex remained sitting on the floor, watching us. I suggested, "Maybe you need time to get ready and get dressed?" "Oh my God, Nick, I feel terrible about this. We didn't plan this," she exclaimed, and tears welled up in her eyes. "Let's talk when you freshen up and change," I suggested, when they got up and left the room. When I gathered up their clothes and headed to the bathroom, Helen was already trying to clean the stain on the carpet. "The next steps will depend on you," I informed her. "Which house should we live in?" I asked. "Do you want to stay here or at my place?" "Why should I choose?" she replied. "It's their fault. They betrayed us." "We have to make a decision," I insisted. At that moment, Alex and Mary entered the room. I invited them to another sofa and they took seats at opposite ends. Helen finally gave up and joined us, sitting next to me on the couch. Alex started to speak, but Helen cut him off with a raised hand, silencing him. Then she looked at him and asked, "Alex, do you really love this woman or is it just a physical attraction?" After a moment of silence, Alex lowered his eyes and, meeting Mary's gaze, confessed, "I think I love her." I turned to Mary and asked, "And you? Do you love Alex?" Mary reacted immediately. "If things were different, would you consider moving in together?" Alex paused before saying, "I don't want our marriage to be over." "So you're asking me for permission to continue seeing my wife? Do you think Helen should deal with the consequences of your actions on her own?" I asked sharply. "I didn't want you to find out. I didn't want anyone to get hurt." Alex confessed, I want to save my marriage, Helen asked coldly. Would you mind if I had an extramarital affair? Alex's eyes widened and he protested. No, you're my wife. I continued. How would you feel if I had an affair with Helen right here on the carpet in your living room? Alex was stunned. No, it shouldn't be like that, he said. Wait, are you connected? He asked Helen incredulously. No, I've never been involved with Helen, I clarified. I assumed it would be fair if we played out this scenario with both of you watching what was happening, so you could see the emotional damage of betrayal. Wiping her tears with a napkin, Mary apologized to me, expressing regret that she had offended me. Alex accused Mary of deliberately planning and repeatedly visiting the Marriott for extramarital affairs, causing me even more pain. Helen ordered Alex to pack his suitcase within 5 minutes and be out the door in 6. She told him to contact her lawyer and arrange for the return of the rest of the items. Alex stood motionless while Helen looked at her watch. Then she turned to Mary and warned her that she would be heading to our house soon. Mary has 5 minutes to pack her things and leave upon arrival. Helen repeated that they both needed to contact her lawyer for further preparations. She threatened that if any of them returned without going through a lawyer, she would distribute incriminating photos to everyone, including children. Helen warned, reminding Alex that they had 4 minutes. In a hurry, Alex quickly headed for the bedroom. Helen started counting down, and when she got to 1 minute, I went to the bedroom door. You'd better leave before time runs out, I said. Alex quickly packed up his things and left without saying a word to either Helen or Mary. Mary, it's time for you to go. Helen, don't forget to lock the door when we leave. If Alex comes back, call me, I ordered. I told him that the photos would be on the internet before he could find them, I said. Be careful. We can't predict what Alex might do, Helen warned. I followed Mary as she was leaving the house, and she followed my car to our house. I opened the door a crack and greeted her. Tears ran down her cheeks as she entered the house. Once inside, she sank into a chair in the kitchen, shaking with sobs. I'm really sorry, Nick. Good. That's how it should be, I replied. In January, you started a relationship with Alex, and our intimate relationship with you ended. Did I miss something? Have you been unhappy with me? No, it's just that with Alex, I got a sense of importance. I believe you can do it without me. The children don't seem to depend on me. You seem to have everything under control. Alex made me feel important. He didn't even say goodbye when he left. He's not filing for divorce, which means he doesn't want to be with you. You were just a convenient choice for him. Do you understand what role you played in this situation? I met her gaze and gave her the answer she was looking for. She was a woman known for her free morals and could be content with being alone. I could only hope that everything she had done was worth the consequences. This led to the collapse of her marriage, her home, her possible future with me, and perhaps even her relationship with her children. Mary sat with tears streaming freely down her face. I took a Diet Coke from the fridge and sat down in front of her. When the tears subsided, I looked at my watch and reminded her that she had the 5 minutes we had agreed on. As soon as the timer on the oven was set, I noticed, when everything goes according to plan, you won't be here. A moment later, the door closed behind her. I watched her pack 2 suitcases into the car and drive away, with Alex following in his car. In my office, I turned on the surveillance screen and saw that they were both parked nearby. As I turned on the recording, I heard the car door open and Alex got in. Mary's sobs echoed in the car. They won't actually divorce us, Alex tried to reassure her. But deep down, Mary knew the truth. I was going to get a divorce and would never take her back. I used to be a good wife, she lamented, feeling that now she was just nobody. What have you done to me? She accused Alex, her voice full of pain and anger. What are you going to do now? She demanded, feeling abandoned and betrayed. You don't care what happens to us. We got caught, and now you're leaving me, she accused him, calling him a jerk. If I could, I would send these photos to your children, not mine, she threatened, her voice full of bitterness and resentment. I can't bring myself to do this. I can't bear the thought of my children seeing me with you, with the one who ruined my marriage, she cried, her voice breaking. A moment later, I heard the car door open and close. Then there was a faint sound of the engine starting and the car drove away. I turned off the sound, feeling a wave of anger and bitterness wash over me. Despite my emotions, I couldn't bear to watch Mary suffer. There was an empty tissue box in front of me. While rummaging in the garage, I came across a set of locks that I bought a few years ago, but never got around to installing. When I finally installed them, Mary's keys no longer fit my house. I immediately called Helen and asked, "How are you?" She replied sadly and confirmed that she would be back soon. Alex came to the house and wanted to talk to her, insisting on letting him into the house. I quickly left the house, knowing that the journey would take only 10 minutes. I told Helen to call me on my cell phone if he showed up before me. Alex turned out to be even more disgusting than I imagined. He dumped Mary, used her for his own pleasure, and cheated on me without hindrance. I curse him for his callousness and swear that I will never accept him into my life again. Hang on, I'll be there soon. I love you. The call ended abruptly, leaving me with a heavy heart. While driving, I followed the speed limit and drove into the driveway. I noticed Alex's car parked at the curb and saw him standing on the porch, deep in conversation. As soon as I closed the car door, he stopped in place and turned to face me. "Let me talk to Helen." "No, she was your wife," I replied sternly. "I warned you not to come back, but here you are. Remember what I promised to do. Don't make me do this." "I just want to talk to her," he insisted. "It's too late. I've seen you, and I've already sent out photos. I have more than 100 of them. I even sent some to your children," I said coldly. "I sent letters to your friends and to the newspaper, each of which had your face in it. Talking to Helen won't save your marriage. You will receive the divorce papers on Monday. Congratulations. You wanted to have fun, but you got more than you expected." Alex ignored a police car parked nearby, aggressively approaching me. I didn't move, watching him approach me. A powerful blow to my chest knocked me to the ground. Just as the attacker was about to strike again, 2 police officers quickly intervened and detained him. "I'll find you," he shouted as he was handcuffed and put in the back seat of a police car. Helen arrived and we spoke briefly with the officers, while the suspect continued to shout threats from the car. When the police left, we returned to the building. "Did you really send these photos?" "No, it will only hurt Alex. My children are due to come next weekend for their mother's birthday, and if they are interested in the photos, I will not dare to show them. I hope they won't ask to see them." Witnessing Alex's inappropriate behavior with Mary was too hard for me. I don't want our children to find out about this. Part of me wanted to figure out the situation. "Why didn't you do it?" He painted a dark picture of my future, filled with loneliness and desperate need for him. Despite his words, there was a noticeable lack of love for me, our children, or our family. There was a part of me that didn't dare open the door, still hoping that he and I would fix everything. But while I was standing there, I made a decision. I didn't open the door. When I saw his car on the street, I realized that I no longer needed him to feel complete. In the last 4 days, I've realized that I shouldn't be alone. I don't need his presence anymore. There is a man who adores me and is happy to show his love for me. There's a man who has been taking care of my children for a long time. You were their football coach, not Alex. You went camping with us. You fixed a leaky water heater. Standing in the doorway, I noticed that Alex was upset and decided to contact the police. I talked to them, described the situation in detail, and expressed my concerns about his tendency to cruelty. I saw them drive up to the house. "I was afraid he would hurt you, and he did. His blow caused you great pain. I thought maybe you could kiss me to ease the pain. It seems like a good plan. Maybe we should go to the bedroom to calm down a bit." I hugged her, and she hugged me back as we walked to the bedroom. To my surprise, the room was empty. The bed was not made. There was not a single carpet on the floor. Despite the lack of decor, we spent the evening together in bed. We were hugging, kissing, and enjoying each other's company when the sun came up. As soon as the light began to fill the room, Helen's phone and mine rang. Helen answered hers without getting out of bed, and I hurried into the hallway to answer mine. Todd called. "Dad, what's going on?" My eldest son was on the line. Confused, I asked, "What do you mean?" Todd explained that he called his mom in the morning to discuss their upcoming weekend visit, but she burst into tears and told him to call me. After hanging up, she ignored further calls. "When will the three of you be able to return home?" "If necessary, we can come over tonight." "What's going on?" he asked. "I can't talk about it on the phone. Call me back and let me know how you plan to return. If you are flying by plane, I will meet you at the airport. If you're going by car, let me know when you get back." "You don't want to tell me about it over the phone?" "No," I replied. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but it's better this way." After the bell rang, I looked into the bedroom and saw that Helen, who was on the phone, looked pale and motionless. As soon as she saw me, she motioned for me to come over. Interrupting the conversation for a moment, she closed the phone and whispered, "This is Carol. Her father called from prison last night and asked for help with bail. She asks what happened. Please find out when they can return. We need to have a family meeting urgently. My kids are coming back tonight. Let's meet at my house and share the news together." Alex was still in custody, and Mary's whereabouts remained unknown. Helen told her daughter to go home and take her brother with her, and so that they could get in touch when they were around. They were supposed to go to my house for a meeting. Carol asked Helen a lot of questions, but Helen promised to give answers only when they were together. I contacted our lawyer to arrange for the delivery of the photos and told him about the attack and our future plans. He approved our plan and promised to deliver the photos personally. Having prepared, I bought packing boxes and packed Alex's things in them, placing them in the garage. Helen found a spare key to his car, and we put it in the garage too. Before we went to my house, calls to Helen's phone were forwarded to mine. Once inside the house, I began to pack my things, and Helen looked around the house, from time to time asking me for advice. When the phone rang, I looked at the caller ID and handed the phone to Helen. It was Carol, who said she would be there in an hour. Helen thanked her and ended the conversation. Shortly after that, my children called and said they would also arrive in an hour. Helen offered to order pizza and salad with delivery, and she made the order. Collecting clothes and things, I felt the need to do something to occupy myself. When I came out of the bedroom, I found Helen standing by the window. I went over and hugged her, knowing that emotions would be high. Any tears or anger were not directed at us, but rather at disappointment, resentment, and the feeling that we had been betrayed. I reassured myself that we hadn't done anything wrong and reminded myself of our shared love. I knew I couldn't handle it without her. "Yes, we can do it, and you can do it. I hope my presence here will make your life a little easier," she said, and bent down to kiss me. At that moment, my son's car pulled up to the entrance, which coincided with the arrival of the pizza delivery. "I'm going to set the table," Helen exclaimed, and hurried into the kitchen. When I opened the front door, I saw my son Todd, who was helping Helen bring food into the house, and quickly paid the delivery guy. Looking around, he took in the scene in front of us. He noticed Helen, but his mother was nowhere to be found. "Where's Mom?" I replied. "I don't know." Helen's children appeared, and I greeted them warmly. They started asking questions, but I raised my hand to silence them. "The food can wait," I said. "Let's all gather in the living room and I'll explain everything." Helen's children sat on one sofa and mine on the other. I invited Helen to sit in a large armchair, and I took a chair from the kitchen. I was about to sit down when there was a knock on the door. My lawyer, Henry Hawkins, handed me a large envelope. He quietly wished me luck, noticing all the children in the living room. He asked if I needed to stay, but I declined, thanking him. After closing the door behind him, I sat down and decided to share the story before answering individual questions. Everyone froze when I started talking. I was fishing with friends a week ago, I began. My friend said he saw Mary at the Marriott Hotel in the afternoon. Intrigued, I decided to follow her car with a GPS tracker. A few days later, Mary returned to the Marriott. Shortly after she left, Alex White, Helen's husband, appeared from the same door. After understanding the situation, I managed to get Alex's hotel records, which showed that he had been renting the same room from time to time since January. The children exchanged glances, and Alex's son remarked, "Just because they lived in the same room doesn't mean they were unfaithful." All the members of the group nodded in agreement. "You're right," one of them said. "I decided to hire someone to check it out, hoping that there was no affair." I also contacted Helen to find out if she had any information about why Alex was seen at the Marriott. Our lawyer recommended that we leave the city for a few days to better understand the situation. Helen said she went to the Mirage in Las Vegas, and I went to Treasure Island. The next day, when I talked to the lawyer, he mentioned that he had photos of Alex with Mary. "The photos in the envelope?" Carol asked, gesturing at the envelope on the floor. "Yes, Helen and I have decided to postpone our return to another day. The situation is really disgusting. When we got back, they were at Helen's house. We caught them red-handed. We suggested that they get divorced in order to be with each other. Alex refused, but Mary agreed. After allowing them to collect their personal belongings, we escorted them out. I haven't had any contact with Mary since. Helen contacted me after Alex came back and threatened her from the porch. She contacted the authorities, and when Alex attacked me and threatened both of us, he was arrested. As far as I know, he is still in custody." The interrogation began. "Do you want to get a divorce?" We both confirmed it. "Have you looked at the photos? We saw them cheating on us in your mother's living room. You should not look at the photos. They are needed for legal purposes if necessary." "Father's going to jail?" "He attacked me and threatened your mother in front of 2 policemen. I think he will serve his time for this." "Mom, how long ago did you find out that your father was unfaithful?" "I found out when Nick showed me the hotel records. He used our retirement money to book a room at the Marriott Hotel." "Wow!" Carol exclaimed. The others nodded in agreement. "And what happens next?" one of them asked. "There will be changes. I decided to sell the house. He's too big for me right now," Helen explained. "Mom, I don't want to move," her daughter interjected. "I'm thinking about getting a roommate." The conversation turned into a different direction when Carol asked, "Mom, are you and Nick together?" Helen replied that we spent a lot of time in Las Vegas, but upon returning home we decided to continue the relationship. Before we found out about our spouse's infidelity, Nick and I had never kissed. But now I have the honor to call Nick my lover and future husband. We hope that you will be able to accept the new reality that we are facing. We love each of you." There was a heavy silence in the room for a while. Eventually, Carol got up from her seat and came over to me. She knelt down and hesitantly took the envelope. "I don't want to see these photos, but I feel like I have to do it," she whispered. "I refuse to believe this story, but if the photos confirm its truthfulness, I will have no choice," she said. With trembling hands, she carefully opened the envelope and looked inside. She looked at only one photo, then quickly closed the envelope and exclaimed, "What a scoundrel!" She handed the envelope to me with the words, "You have to let him know what you think of him." I was tempted to do so, but before I could do anything, Helen's son came over and took the envelope from my hands. He spoke, and then reached inside and took out about 10 photos. He calmly examined each photo, and then returned it to the envelope. After that, we finished the leftovers of pizza and salads. At 9 o'clock, we had dinner at a Chinese restaurant. Despite the difficulties, the children, lifelong friends, have come to terms with the fact that they are now part of a mixed family. While we were waiting for fortune cookies, my son Matt asked, "Maybe we'll plan a hike this summer." Helen smiled and replied, "Some of my happiest memories from when you were little were the hikes we did together." I was silent for a moment when Helen's daughter Carol looked at me and asked, "May I, Dad? Can I?" Tears flowed down my face. How could she fall in love with me so quickly? How could I refuse? They all supported her words. May I, Dad? May I? Of course. It sounds amazing. Let's coordinate our schedules and choose a date. When we left the restaurant, our plans for the first family camping trip were finally approved. Resentment and disappointment still remained, but we looked hopefully at what lay ahead. 4 years have passed. Mary has not appeared in court and has been missing ever since. The next day, after talking to the children on the phone, she withdrew money from her credit card and disappeared. Alex is currently serving a prison sentence of 2.5 to 5 years. The children still haven't visited him. The envelope remains with me and is carefully stored in our home safe. Every year we continue our family tradition of hiking together. Alex had the opportunity to keep his house, his job, and Helen. I wonder if he ever thinks about it.